Hi, my name's Peter Dove and I teach unaffiliated and affiliated dressage riders how to ride more beautiful and accurate tests by breaking down the mechanics of the movements, teaching how to flow them together and explaining the judge's point of view, so they get higher marks, more consistent results and ultimately have a better relationship with their horse. Today we're going to cover British Dressage 2006 Test Series Preliminary 14, which is rather a nice test. When you're just about ready to come into the arena, you could be in one of two scenarios. The first is you could be outside in a small warm-up area and you're warming the horse in, ready to literally just enter the arena, in which case it's just a case of lining your horse up for the centre line and entering at A. The other scenario is you could be inside the arena itself, trotting round. If you're on the inside, you need to make sure that you're on the rein where you can most accurately control the turn. In my online training course, you get a lot of detail on how to make that turn very accurately, but in summary, you need to know the distance before the marker that you need to start your turn, and you need to know the angle at which you need to leave the track. And of course, you need to keep turning. That's the most important thing. Don't drift. Keep making the horse turn. Really keep your eye on the C marker so you can look at that and keep making adjustments as you go around the turn. Once you get onto the centre line, keep looking at C and try and keep it between the horse's ears. As you trot down the centre line, as you get to about G, you'll want to make sure you're on the correct diagonal to turn left. Plus, you want to make sure that you create a slight pre-bend in the direction that you're turning. Make the turn, but make sure that you keep your inside leg on so you can get the horse up to the track slightly left of C. Also, make sure that you ride into the corner. You have to trot round to E and you have to do a 20-metre circle left at E. Now, doing circles at E or B can be quite difficult because you only have two sides of the arena here to help you out. Now, what I want you to do is to imagine a perfectly shaped square. And if you can see that directly in front of you now, imagine drawing a perfectly shaped circle inside of it, which filled the whole of the square. Now, what you'll be seeing is that the circle only actually touches the square in 4 points. Okay, so it goes nowhere near into the corners and only touches at 4 points. So, the horse will step off the track at E, and it will hit the centre line about halfway between A and X. Now, what tends to happen is people sometimes leave the track correctly at E, but they let the horse drift. Never drift. Keep your eye on the next point that you're aiming towards. Once you're on the centre line, you're going to be heading for E. And really, if we keep that idea of that circle inside the square in our minds, you will literally step onto the track very, very slightly before E and almost immediately back off again. And again, you're aiming for the centre line, halfway between C and X. And once you get to there, again, no drift, you keep turning and you look at E and you aim to step onto the track at E. Between K and A, walk. Now, try to make the walk smooth and clear, the walk transition. The horse needs to show some good clear steps and then smoothly move off again in trot. In the online course, we have a good number of tips for how to achieve that in much more detail. The next movement is FXH, change the rein. Now, make sure you go into the corner first, and what most people do wrong here is they turn too early and they come out of the corner rather unbalanced. Remember, this is FXH, change the rein, with the key being on F. So your horse steps off the track at F. Okay? This will look much smoother and much more balanced. So by now you're heading across the diagonal through X. The next key point in making sure that you can make this look smooth and balanced is to aim your horse's nose before the marker H, so slightly left of H. The reason is your horse is long. Now what this means is the nose might touch the track. Let's say you aimed the nose at H. If the horse's nose hits the track at H, Well, by the time the shoulder gets to the track and by the time the backside gets to the track, you're already busy winging around the corner and you haven't even managed to touch the letter H. So by aiming the nose just before H, what'll happen is by the time the horse's body gets onto the track, his shoulder will be at H, you'll be aimed straight into the corner and you'll be able to ride smoothly round the turn. Transition to walk as you're going into the corner. It'll just help slow the horse down as he's aiming at the wall. Again, the same things apply: smooth transition down, clear walk steps, and smoothly back up into trot. You're next going round to B, where you're going to make a 20-meter circle. Again, the main points here are simply make sure you step off the track at the marker B, and that you step onto the track again at the other side of the arena at E. You don't drift. You keep making continuous turns, and you're really aware of those 4 points of the circle that you're aiming for. Between F and A, you need to do working canter right. So really, I always advise people to ask for the canter as they're going into the corner. You're much more likely to get the horse on the correct lead. Now, often when I say this to people, ask at F, what tends to happen is they get to F, they go sitting trot, and by the time they give their aids to ask the horse for canter, they're already coming out of the corner. So it's important to do sitting trot before the F marker so that when you give the aids to canter, you are at F or very slightly just past it. Now you would imagine to do a circle at C that it would be easier for people because you've got 3 sides of that square that I've talked about. But what tends to happen here with the circle of 20 meters is people generally don't come off the track at C. They go into the corner, come round a bit up the long side, and then drift across the arena, hit the track on the other side, do a straight line into the corner, and then come round on the track back to C. Just keep going back to that idea of the circle within the square. Meaning when you get to C, you already have to start stepping away from the track. You're definitely not going anywhere near that corner. And as you're coming across the arena to touch X, make sure that when you get to X, you're already thinking about turning right. You have to keep turning. Between F and A, you're going to go to working trot. I would try and do the trot going into the corner. You're more likely to get the horse to back off a little bit than, winging your way around the corner. KXM requires you to change the rein in a free walk on a long rein. So let's just look at those phrases. Free walk. The horse has to walk freely, have good ground cover, take longer steps on a long rein. So the horse must stretch forwards and down, keep the contact of the rein, and relax. There's quite a lot to actually getting a horse to do that. As you approach M, you're going to need to pick up the reins without causing the horse to hollow into medium walk. Between M and C, working trot. And then between K and A, you're going to need to canter again. Now, this is exactly as I talked about before. Sitting trot just before K so that you can give the aids at K, so by the time the horse strikes off, it will more naturally strike off onto the correct lead. We've talked about circles, the circle A. Just remember the 4 points. You're going to be cantering around the arena all the way to M, and between M and C, working trot. So again, I tend to try and do that going into the corner to just help the horse back off very slightly. HXF, you're going to be changing the rein in working trot. The same thing applies right into the corner. The horse doesn't leave the track till H, so the shoulder comes off the track at H. You're going through X, and you're going to aim your horse's nose just before, maybe half a horse's distance before the marker at F, so that you can go into that corner and then make a more balanced turn up the center line. If you aim your horse's nose at F, you're going to be winging it round that corner and then screeching up the center line. No sound effects, I'm afraid. As you come up the center line, between X and G, you're going to do halt, immobility, salute. At this stage of the game, they do not expect you to trot, 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 boom, halt. Okay, so a half step or so of walk is going to be fine. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that really helps. Look out for some of my free training videos coming up very soon, which go into a lot more detail on how to ride these movements.